Oh, and we are live on Discovery Paranormal, and we're gonna go into a little place called the lab. And you ever go into the lab, and create something? Yeah, science class. Go in there. I had a science teacher, nice guy. He had a stroke though, so he would talk with his eyes closed half the time, and kids would get up and leave. But nice guy, knew a lot about science, taught me all about the Bunsen burner, that type of thing. Science class where you have your little science experiments, and what happens, you do something, you get a reaction, right? And then some of those scientists go on, and years later they get lots of reactions, and they make a business out of it on studying scientific things, no matter what those things are, apparently. But in this case, I want to talk about creationism, but I also want to talk about the lab, because the lab is where you create things. And this theory has been floated in a lot of different communities. There's lots of theories out there, lots of people out there that like to think of stuff. But when you start looking at evidence and comparative evidence, and that takes you on a path of, hey, look what I've got here, there's something interesting going on, all of these things coincide, which just didn't happen by accident, unless you believe in all of that by accident stuff. So, but really, the biggest mystery concerning human beings is basically, what's the universe? What is it? Why are we here? And I don't think most people think about it. I think the biggest thing, mystery concerning humans, is what's really like a hot dog. You know what I mean? Other things that are much more deep, but not deep in the world of depth. Deep in the world of someone can think about it and let it go, and then eat a hot dog 10 minutes later and don't worry about it. Right? So the biggest mystery concerning really humanity and all of the life on this planet. And I'm actually having a intense discussion, sort of one line text fight with somebody about the God theory and aliens and creationism. If you want to think about the God theory, you think that God invented aliens too. It came about. But if there's a lot of unanswered questions when you start looking in those realms. I have my theories, but all my theories kind of exist on a certain plane of one thing connecting to another thing, which is what you do when you start putting things together in a timeline, right? But in this case, who invented the timeline? I had this teacher. Tell what was his name, Mr. Schaefer. Tell did he teach? I think English. One time in class, when I was there, he had stated, talking about the universe and how far the universe goes, and asking the kids in the class, I think it was around 10th grade, how far does the universe go, and what's the end, you know? And he's like, if you get to the end of what's on the other side. So that's an interesting question for the 10th grade English teacher in Rockville Center, New York, man. Very interesting, because it really comes down to theories, because people don't know anything really. I mean, really, they don't know anything. And even when people think you think that someone knows something, it turns out that they don't. And then you listen to a bunch of bunk. So I do my own research. Research is, you do your own research, then you know something, but then you have to research at least people who knew what they were doing, or has some kind of interest in doing things the right way. So, whatever. Where did our universe come from? So, I'm going to read this article. I'm kind of going to pick at it anyway. Nearly a century ago, Albert Einstein searched for steady state alternatives to the Big Bang model, because beginning in time was not philosophically satisfying in his mind. Now, there are a variety of conjectures in the scientific literature for cosmic origins. And people tend to knock Einstein, but really he was a visionary and it was open-minded, and taught people to be open-minded and think in those directions. Did he know everything? Of course not. Nobody does. Nobody knows. Nobody does. If people think they know something, that just tells me that they don't. The ones they say they do, they're the worst of all. So now there are a variety of these conjectures. So let's see. Let me get past all of them. A less explored possibility is that our universe was created in a laboratory of an advanced technological civilization. Since our universe has a flat geometry, and I'm going to explain to you what that means. Okay, because this is interesting, right? About the shape of the universe. So the shape of the universe in physical cosmology is the local and global geometry of the universe. The local features of the geometry of the universe are primarily described by its curvature. People say there's a flat Earth and all that, right? So, whereas the topology of the universe describes general global properties of its shape as a continuous object. The spatial curvature is related to general relativity, which describes how space time is curved and bent by mass and energy. The spatial topology cannot be determined from its curvature due to the fact that there exists mathematically, locally indistinguishable spaces with different topologies. So it's a thing, right? It's a thing. So several potential topographical geometric attributes of the universe interest may be discussed, but some of these are boundedness, whether the universe is finite or infinite, like my English teacher was talking about, flat, zero curvature, hyperbolic, negative curvature, or spherical, positive curvature. And connectivity, how the universe is put together and simply connected space or multiple connected. So it's a thing. And it's a series of things that are connected by things. So then you start thinking of, you know, time being in that bubble. And then as it curves for gravity, whatever, we've seen that time can be adjusted, time can change. And the theory, you go out there in space and come back, your body's only going to age a short time, but then, you're going to be older, people will be older on the planet, whatever, all kinds like that. That'd be interesting in of itself, right? But in this case, if you can divide something into a thing, you can examine it, right? So the possible origin story unifies the religious notion of a creator with the secular notion of quantum gravity. So here you have it, bringing Jesus and science side by side. Whoever said it wasn't? The people that wanted to run away from that were the ones that didn't want you to hear stuff to begin with. It's like the whole Twitter thing, right? I love this guy, Elon Musk, and I don't like people in general, but this dude I love because he is using his billions for good and not evil, man. And especially when you can torture these fanatics, the people that are out there that control social media, where if you have a conservative voice, they need to stomp on that voice, So that that's not free speech. Free speech allows input from all different groups and all different people, and you can debate people. But the limousine liberals, they don't like that. They don't want it. They don't like it, and they want to be able to control anything that challenges their feelings. They're going to be against. That's not the American way, right? So anyway, that reminds me of that. Whatever the hell I was talking about. So the whole story of the creator, when people say, well, there's a God, there's a creator, and whatever, this kind of reinforces that in a way that it was a creation. Think of the story of Adam and Eve, and also before Eve, you had another. You know what I mean? And there's stories that they in religion didn't want people to hear, and they tried to hide them even in their writings, or destroy writings. And the Catholics were weird about destroying writings because even though they knew it was information they didn't want to get out, in the same sense, it was had a connection with God. So they feel like if they destroyed it, they'd be destroyed themselves, right? Not all the other evil that they've done, just that. You know what I mean? So I think that I think if you look at those stories and apply science to them, which is what ancient alien type of people do, a lot comes from that. But that's more of the creation story. You have to divide your stories. There's the stories of when everything happened, everything was created, and then there's other stories that happen thereafter. You know what I mean? So when people think of like aliens, you you got to know that if there were civilizations that have been around sometimes for millions of years, they're going to be more advanced technologically. If they're from a different place, they're going to have different elements to draw from that might also help them be more advanced technologically, right? And then overall time. Look at human beings. Humans haven't been around that long, and just industrialized maybe the last 200 years. So and people can't agree or get along on anything, and there's so much discourse into the human race, which is really too bad because as for the world of progress, if you ask me, do I think humans have made progress? Sure. If I visit back in 100 years, from 100 years ago, I think we've made progress. I think we've made progress from 100 years before that. There still elements that need to change, of course, but now you have an unbelievable amount of people on the planet. Almost 8 billion people. There's a lot of starvation. There's a lot of suffering. There's a lot of dirty water, dirty food, and then you have people with this war all the time, right? It doesn't take much. All you need is one nut with some nuclear weapons, and then people are going to pay attention, right? Anyway, that's not this. Okay, but yes, it does unify the notion of a creator. So we do not possess a predictive theory that combines two pillars of modern physics, quantum mechanics, and gravity. But a more advanced civilization might have accomplished this feat and mastered the technology to create a baby universe or baby universes, plural. If that happened, then not only could it account for the origin of our universe, but it would also suggest that a universe like our own, which is in, let's see, will host an advanced technological civilization that gives birth to a new flat universe. It's like a biological system that maintains the longevity of its genetic material through multiple generations. So ask me why. Why would I want to do something like this? I just told you about the hot dog, One of my friends posted a video. That's why it's haunting me. You can't unsee stuff, you know what I mean? And you have to look. You just have to. That's social media, you know. But put a microscope on almost anything you eat, and you're not going to want to eat it because it's going to be all nasty and stuff. But yeah, of course, hot dogs. You're going to find all kinds of ant hairs, rat this, whatever, and stuff, and little eggs, ant eggs. Ugh, you know what I mean? But yeah, that's exactly like that, like a little universe. It's a little microscopic universe. So our universe was not selected for us to exist in, as suggested by conventional anthropic reasoning, but rather it was selected such that it would give rise to civilizations which are much more advanced than we are. The ones in the discs, right, with the big heads and the big eyes. You know what I mean? And I'm not knocking their looks. I'm just saying they stand out in the crowd. Those smarter kids of our cosmic block, which are capable of developing the technology needed to produce baby universes, are the drivers of the cosmic Darwinian selection process, whereas we cannot enable, basically, as of yet, the rebirth of the cosmic conditions that led to our existence. We as humans can't even mimic our own atmosphere, basically. you know. So remember the biodome that they put, and they were so arrogant to say that it worked, and it turned out they were lying for 2 years, that they were piping oxygen in there and food. When people have to freaking lie about it, you know, just do your work and tell the truth. I don't get that, but yeah, I do get it because they want to sit in there. They're having a good time. They're scientists. They're getting paid tons of money and grant money for sitting in this biodome. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think they had Pauly Shore with them or something, something like that. I remember something like that from those days. Are, are the drivers? Are the drivers? And I love Paulie, by the way, man. I actually talked to Paulie every now and then, which is interesting. He's a very, very busy guy. Are the drivers of the cosmic Darwinian selection process, whereas we cannot enable as of yet the rebirth. So I said that already. One way to put it is our civilization is still cosmologically sterile, right? Since we can't reproduce the world that made us. So put that in your pipe and smoke it, you know? So where do you find yourself in all of this? You know what I mean? I know where I find myself in all this. It's I love the knowledge and I love the information. I love even the theories, of what could be and whatever. And we've talked about all kinds of stuff here on the show, block universe and things like that. This is on a different level of here's this advanced technological civilization for some reason needs to create these baby universes to have all this life. And what is life? Life is energy, right? It's the respect of having the respect for this earth, having the respect for yourself and your brothers and sisters on the earth, and the life within it, which sustains us. You know, the air, the water, the animals, whatever. They say more people are eating meat now than ever. Yeah, because people are mad. It's a revolt against the vegetarians. All that walked into a restaurant blasting people with a horn because they're eating a steak. Yeah, man, people push back. You know, they push back with their stomachs. They eat eat meat and potatoes. So okay, so now we're thinking of we have a different perspective, the technological level of civilizations, and really, like I said, with humans, there's still humans on the planet that wear loincloths and they're headhunters. They're cannibals and whatever. We don't interfere in what they do, no matter how. Remember that Christian dude, the Chinese guy who paddled out, some island off of India, which you're not supposed to go. It's illegal even to go there. And there's headhunters. You know what they did? They killed him. Then you had all these Christian groups. You should go there and arrest those people and get the ones who killed them. Arrest the headhunters, right? Because this guy was told not to go there. He broke the law of going there, and he went there and he got his ass handed to him. And you're supposed to go arrest some headhunters? Yeah, 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 yeah. They're nuts. They're crazy saying that. I know if I don't want to get killed by a headhunter, I don't go there. There's parts of America I don't go because this is too dangerous. Let alone headhunters included. Let alone. So now I seek nature. I kind of like wallowing in my own nature. So as of now, we are humans, a very low level technologically civilization. Technologically, we don't have anything, right? We're still fighting over electric cars and this, and put up this panel or that wind turbine is going to save your life. And, then a crisis comes along and you see how you get kicked in the nuts with the oil crisis, you know, because we rely on it. Humans are marinated in oil. It's not something you can easily separate from. It takes generations sometimes to change that kind of thing. And also, you need new technologies that will come out that will enable that change, right? Anyway, so low level enough to have a guy with nuclear weapons destroy a country because he wants to, and rape carnage among men, women, children, just completely destroy them. Cities that are 2,000 years old. That's humans, and yeah, not everybody's like that, but yeah, people allow it to happen. We have allowed this to happen. You know what I mean? And if you act as a world, then you can get stuff done. It's hard to act as an individual and get stuff done. You can do it over time. If there's one fool left to fight, the war is not over. You know, but in this case, shit, these fools are getting people killed, right? So we're a low-level technology world. We're using toilet paper, wadded up paper to wipe our poopy butts. That's humans. I don't even want to get into people who pick their boogers and eat them. You think any advanced civilization is going to look at this mess and say, "Oh, we need this," you know? But you would think, you ever see this movie called Hitchhiking something, the Gods or whatever it is, the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Universe? Yes, yes. And it's a story about how the earth basically is in play with these aliens, and they're kind of deciding, is this civilization advanced enough that we can let them keep going and then bring them into our intergalactic society, or should we just blow the earth up, right? And then this guy kind of, he himself and what kind of person he is, some English dude, basically shows why humans should live anyway. It's like that. It's kind of like that. But you got to give us time, aliens. A couple hundred years of industrialized worlds, not much time, you know? And there needs to be a push. There needs to be a push against the things that stand in the way of people evolving. So that's, I think, where we're at. That is, I think, exactly the square we're on right now, in the world that we're in. So, so I'm not worried about being graded. This guy is worried. We're a low level civilization. He's a grade class C. I'd put it much lower than that. I'd say basically barely passing. You know, like you know, like you got to go after school, maybe summer school, to make this stuff up as humans act and react. So, and this is on the cosmic scale. So let's talk about the cosmic equation, right? How we can see a flea. The flea can kind of see us, must be very big and overwhelming. However, a flea can see, but we can't really communicate with that flea. Maybe through touch, maybe you can smash it, right? Very limited. The cosmic equation is, if you have a higher life form, are they going to be able to communicate with such a lower being, even if they monitor communications and they put together codes and algorithms of what speech is and that type of thing? You would like to think they're higher civilizations so they would understand, but I think that they would have to equate our actions and our words, which is usually the opposite. People opposite usually, right? They do exactly what opposite they say that they do. So anyway, and this guy thinks that we're going to get blown up at some point if we don't get better. And as we carelessly destroy the natural habitat of the earth through climate change driven by our technologies, you see, that's where we separate. Technologies, yeah, 40-mile square soap factory district in China and billowing out all that pollution and smoke. I think that it shows when COVID started and all those things shut down and those towns shut down and people stayed in. You saw the environment change and get better within days, and just dramatically change. So there are things that can be done, but India, China, they're not going to shut those factories off. Of course not, unless something huge happens where they have to. So the earth really needs to kind of take a step back to nature. And by doing that, it's going to have to get rid of a lot of the inhabitants that are messing it up. You know, not the animals per se, but nature's a weird thing because if you're doing a science experiment and you have your experiment going on, you're doing your thing, and you enter something foreign into that experiment, a lot of times those foreign things get dealt with. So I think that, and if there's no balance, definitely there's going to be a balance struck at some point, right? Just throw that out there for you. So anyway, achieving the distinction of a Class A civilization, the hoity-toity. You know, you ever watch the Revenge of the Nerds and the guys that are in the good frats? Those people, the hoity-toity, the Class A civilization. Uh, is non-trivial by the measure of physics as we know it. The related challenges, such as producing a large enough density of dark energy within a small region, already has been discussed. You know, it's interesting, right? You have these stars that have died, and then the matter that those stars are made of, they say you can carve out just a 1 inch cube, and it would weigh more than a battleship if you had brought it to Earth. That's how dense it is. It's amazing to think about things like that, and interesting to think about things like that as what's part of the universe and stuff that we barely even know. Yet people are always talking like they know things. They call themselves experts. And I hear them and they yammer on and on and on. But what makes you an expert? Yeah, sure, you do your research. Research is catch and go, catch and release. Passive aggressive at times. It's research, and you're trying to put conclusions together based on, if it's based on other people's work, then you got to understand if they did the right research. So Stephen Hawking, in a large part of the scientific community, they regard Stephen Hawking in this great light. Meanwhile, when I looked into his work, he never really did anything. He kind of just, gave his theories on other people's work, and basically, let's advance this or work with other people on projects that they already had completed, and then they wanted more than name recognition, so they would work with him. It's going to sound terrible to say, but I don't think he was a very happy guy being his situation. He was always doom and gloom and end of the world and death, of course, because his life was horrible. You know what I mean? His life was horrible. So, and it became horrible. It degenerated. Do I think this guy is this great scientific genius? No. I've never seen anything that he produced that's going to tell me that. I think Elon Musk is a freaking scientific genius. He's not even a scientist. He's a dude who invented. You know what? He's a billionaire with a brain who thinks outside the box. Look at his rockets. Taking off, landing from platforms, coming back. I mean, this guy has foraged into the future. Without government grants, without all these things that people float in front of him. So I don't know. It really comes down to uh, understanding what's happening around you, and then it comes down to perception, and whatever our perception is, because we see things for how we see things, and then if you use different kind of radio telescopes and things like that, or different kind of equipment, there's a whole bunch of stuff there that we don't see. So that's another. And then if you want to talk about multiple dimensions and different worlds like that, yeah, at two. So since we can't invent a self-replicating universe yet, the possibility that our civilization is not particularly smart, one should take us by shouldn't take us by surprise. It is smart in some areas. Right. No, it's not. He was leading these countries. I know it's not smart at all. I don't know. The smart thing to do is just figure out what you like, go to a place in the universe, and exist until you die. That's it. Let's see. Okay. Let's see. We must allow ourselves to look humbly through new telescopes as envisioned by the recently announced Galileo project and search for smarter kids on our cosmic block. Otherwise, our ego trip may not end well. so, so how about this? And this is the interesting thing. I'm on the wrong thing. This is the interesting thing. The the zero energy universe, right? And that has been described in the article. Zero. This is why they think it could be in a lab and that it's a controlled thing. You know how you have even limited choices, even in music, or actors. We have very limited choices in this world. We're limited to this world. We need to breathe oxygen, drink water, and eat, or we're going to die. So humans are basically fragile creatures, right? And if you thought that happened by accident, that people are still kicking and also doing well in terms of numbers, humans are replicating like a virus. You know what I mean? In terms of numbers, so interesting just to understand that. All right, so the zero energy universe hypothesis proposes that the total amount of energy in the universe is exactly zero. Its amount of positive energy in the form of matter is exactly canceled out by its negative energy in the form of gravity. Some physicists, such as Lawrence Krauss, Alexander Vilkin, and even Stephen Hawking jumped in at the end, called this state a universe from nothingness. And so, what does it say in the Bible? That God created the universe from nothing, right? And it has I have Augie Nost on the show, who was a scientist, you know, and he even says that the universe has a zero value, is created from nothing. So we're created from nothing. So we are nothing. Nothing. How's that for your ego? You, you nothingness, you. Although the zero energy, I wish I had that value for my taxes, man. You know what I mean? If I identified as like a non-taxpayer, somebody here, or I've hit that what do they call it? That the quota, the limit. I've hit the cap, a tax cap. You get to a certain point and you're good. You get to keep some of your money. I want to do that, man. So I'm identifying as a lot of things these days. Pirate too, So yes. So the hypothesis is broadly discussed in popular sources. Other examples include expected symmetry prevalence of right and left-handed angular momenta of objects, the spin, anyway. The spin, which helps with gravity. You think if the Earth didn't spin, you know how fast the Earth is going. I know you can't talk to some people about it, because they start flipping out. They want to feel cozy. You know what I mean? Like when I say cozy, I mean they want to be able to go home and go to bed and think that they're going to be okay and kind of cozy. But and their house is solid, their apartment, their bed, they know it's tangible, right? They think it's there anyway. They can touch it, they're part of it. But at the same time, they don't think that, we're on this earth, which is just a big, ball of rock and mud and flame hurtling through the universe. So let's see. Let's see so the Earth, the Earth covers around at nearly 67,000 miles per hour, 30 kilometers per second, or 67,000 miles per hour. In addition, our solar system, Earth and all, whirls around the center of our galaxy at some 490,000 miles per hour. So, if you think about it, and you got to like do the math and, how fast the earth is really truly traveling through space, man. It's mind-boggling, and we're still here. We can walk outside and walk around and drive and even get into an airplane and fly and nothing that, because we're protected by all this, right? So here we go. The earth is screaming through space at 1.3 million miles per hour. Phew. 1.3 million miles per hour. And you're complaining about gas prices just like that. And you can, so it's a little blue dot. You ever see a picture of the Earth from these satellites that we send out there? And you see this beautiful little blue dot. And when you're looking at it from far away, you're thinking like it's so beautiful. You're not thinking of all the drama, all the stuff, social media. You're not thinking of Fox TV. You're not thinking of everybody's hate and anguish and anger and all these people just writhing around like a bunch of snakes intertwined, attacking each other and whatever. Ugh, that, that, at the same time, that ball is traveling at 1.3 million miles per hour through space, right? You got to think about asteroids. You know, Bruce Willis ain't gonna do it. Not gonna save the day. There's things, and then people, oh, there's alien species that'll protect us and whatever. I don't think they protect anybody yet. But I think that as we let me get back to my zero energy. All right, and so okay, the we got through the hypothesis of the zero energy, and okay, it's observed the flatness of the universe, the equal prevalence of positive and negative charges, opposing particles spin in quantum mechanics, opposing particles spin in quantum mechanics. In the quantum mechanic world, in the microphysics world, it does the opposite of our macro level world. So and there's things that happen for no rhyme nor reason in the quantum level, especially in quantum tunneling, which we're just starting to scratch the surface as humans. If anything, we've come that far, to get to trying to look through the window of quantum mechanics, right? So as well as let's see, electromagnetic waves, like radio waves travel the same speed as the sun, if you know that. But all right, so during World War II, it was Pascal Jordan who first suggested that since the positive energy of the star's mass and the negative energy of its gravitational field together may have zero total energy because they balance each other out, right? Uh, so if you think of it, Einstein went a long way in getting a running start, helping others to get on that path, as long as they can think outside the box, you know. So you know, and then of course they did a lot of experiments around the whole zero energy universe. But if you put those two things together, of it's a thing and it's zero energy, I think you've got something. I think you've got something, So, and that brings you to time travel. You know, I'm not going to talk about time travel because we got to go in a few minutes, but time travel. There's no mathematical block for time travel. So when people argue that we can't do it, and say you can't do it yet, if there's no mathematical block, it's something that can be achieved one day. However it happens. I mean, there's also limited time travel. And if what you think of time, if time isn't as rock solid as people think it is, it can be manipulated. I know things are changing. I don't know, man. There's some weird stuff happening in the world. Even when Trump became president, that was a whole weird thing in of itself. There's a lot of things you have to say. It doesn't make any sense. Ah, I love coffee. Love coffee. So one of my listeners wrote at me on that Montauk story I was sharing a couple of shows ago. They had heard my Montauk story, and my story was just I drove to the park with my friend. He was drunk. I was not. We saw this colorful object with lights above us. It kind of lit up the whole area around us in the car. And then, not even, not even 200 feet down the road, I got surrounded by police cars and government cars. And they dragged us out of the car screaming at us, what are you doing here? It was like 4 o'clock in the morning in Montauk Point. Yeah. Hey, what are you doing here? You were at the base. And I was a young kid. I didn't know there was a base there, and I think I was maybe 17 or 18 even when it happened. I didn't know there was a base there. I didn't know anything about it until later on. So, and then just little tidbits. So, but here's an interesting story. And this guy says he's worked there. Joe LaFerreno has worked at the wild, craggy eastern tip of Long Island, now called Camp Hero State Park, for 18 years. He knows the spooky abandoned military base which supposedly inspired the Netflix series Stranger Things. Nobody watches Netflix anymore. Just to let you know. It's a place that was dominated my life and my nightmares. So this guy says he was like one of the kids there. He said many locals in Montauk mocked the tales about Camp Hero being the site of secret government experiments involving mind control, time travels, wormholes, teleportation, and kids hooked up to wires in hidden underground labs. The rumors took hold in 1992, 11 years after the military base at Camp Hero was shut down. A now widely debunked book called The Montauk Project Experiments in Time by Preston Nichols told of sinister Nazi style experiments that meddled genetically and psychologically with kidnapped local boys. The probably got 'em from Riverhead, you know what I mean? Something like that. Historian Henry Osmers laments how the conspiracy theories have brought in gawkers who ignore the official military history of the area that once staged the Revolutionary War in favor of hunting down aliens. I'll give them something to do. You know what I mean? Hunt down some aliens. Uh, Another local, Paul Fagan, spent 14 years exploring Camp Hero and painstakingly researching government documents. You're not going to find anything. You waste your time on that. If you're going to do your research, you don't look through that kind of stuff. He told the Post that there may be a nuclear reactor secretly buried at the site, installed around 1958. All right, so how much time do we got? But I don't know. Let's see. This guy said he was hypnotized by a certified hypnotist for about 40 minutes, and memories started flooding back. He did. They said they did a very bad thing to us. We were just little kids. They had no right to experiment on us. It was very dark, very evil thing. He believes he was abducted and abused during the summer of 1980, and possibly during the summer of 1981 when he was 12 or 13. He recalled under hypnosis that a local boy whom no one knew very well who invited him to bike to the base. The first time, Lefreno said these two men were waiting, dressed in civilian clothes. They ushered the boys into a sunken house on the base. Sure, it wasn't Fire Island because stuff. You gotta watch out. Was there like a big lighthouse there, or was it kind of a little lighthouse? That sounds awfully like a Fire Island story to me. Later, he said he and other boys, were brought underground through Battery 113, one of the sealed gunneries left over from World War II. He remembers lying on the table and wires coming at him like electrodes. They analyzed us like animals. He said they were up there, 50 other kids in there. Yeah, pretty interesting story, though. But he said that while under hypnosis, he went to the location he remembered with another Parks employee, Charlie, who was also interviewed by the Post. They found remnants of the sunken house from his visions. Ooh, yeah, there it is. There it is. If we had a backhoe and my boss let me dig that spot, which I know he won't, I can guarantee we find some cement structures down there. Lefreno said. So this is the deal about Camp Hero, and I'm going to blow your minds in the last 2 minutes of this show right now. So I used to hang out at 7-Eleven. I know that might shock a lot of you, you know. At midnight, I'm the kind of guy you'd find out hanging out at 7-Eleven, eating a burrito, having a Slurpee, and playing video games when he was 17, 18, or whatever. Yes. So I knew this guy, Bobby. He was the night manager. So we'd like hang out and like actually play video games together. You know, the quarter machines. I mean, we'd go through like rolls of quarters. And that's kind of what we did all night. And then, people come in every once in a while, police officers and other people, whoever work in the middle of the night, right? People going to work and that type of thing. So this guy, every once in a while, will come in. I think his name was Gary. You know, he had glasses, thick glasses, and mustache and beard. Kind of a weird dude. And he said he was the chief custodian at Brookhaven Labs, right? Cool. He said they got some. At one time, he's like, they got some weird stuff going on in there. I'm not allowed to say. He's like, they kept saying, he would they'd make him disappear if he ever said anything about what was going on, and he had to sign all kinds of stuff. Whatever. Yeah. Okay. So we didn't see him for a little while, and then one night, a dark and stormy night, he came through, all kind of drunk, messed up, and he was like, "They fired me, those bastards." Bah! He goes into this big like rant about Brookhaven Labs, and he knows what they're doing. That he's been to Camp Hero underground. He didn't call it Camp Hero. He called it something else. But he said they have an underground tram that goes from Brookhaven Labs to that Camp Hero, and on top of the ground they poured concrete and they closed it all off, so you can't access. He's like they said there was 30 floors underneath there, 30 floors straight down, and you can't access them from anywhere around there. You have to access it from this tram from Brookhaven Labs. And he said they have experiments going on in there and crazy stuff. And he's like, what they're trying to crossbreed things. And man, he was going off. And so Bobby and I just thought, guy's drunk and crazy. And I always have a little head for conspiracy. So I'm like, yeah, it could be, You never know. You never know until you know. And sometimes even when you know, you don't know. And then, he took off. We asked him if he was okay to drive and all that other stuff. He had been sitting there drinking coffee for like an hour or whatever, telling us this stuff. Then he left, and we never saw him again. That was it. And then just something interesting that you think of because it's unrelated to other people I know that have told me stories about that place. Of course, my own story of being accosted and I can prove it because I got 6 tickets. They gave me 6 tickets because I was driving my friend's car and he had just bought it and he didn't tell me that it wasn't registered or insured yet or anything or inspected, and he had insurance, whatever. So they gave me 6 tickets, in East Hampton Court that I had to take care of a while later. So yeah, it's documented, man. That stop was documented. So anyway, I'm going to end the show there. Do your research, man. Listen to people for the true stories. And yeah, people tell weird stories too. Sometimes they want the spotlight, and especially if they're a little off kilt. But just do your own research, and you'll find a whole bunch of your own things to think about, and maybe take you in other directions. I'm going to end the show there. This is me on Discovery Paranormal. I will see you guys next week on this show, going live from a haunted house. That's right, man. Next week, I'll see you guys on the show. Bye.